It is 11:47 at night. The laptop is open. The document has one sentence in it, and you wrote that sentence 4 hours ago. Your phone is face down beside you because you already know what is on it. A message from someone asking if you finished, and you have not answered it either. You told yourself you would start after dinner, then after one video, then after a shower you did not need. Now it is almost midnight, and you are staring at a blinking cursor, wide awake, doing absolutely nothing. You wanted this. You are not lazy. You have proven that 100 times in other parts of your life. Yesterday you cleaned the entire kitchen without being asked. Last week you spent 3 hours organizing a spreadsheet nobody needed organized. So why, at the exact moment it mattered most, did some part of you refuse to move? Here is something you can use tonight, before you even understand why this happens. When a task feels too big to start, do not start the task. Start a version of it so small it feels almost pointless. Open the document and write one bad sentence. Put on one running shoe. Reply to one email with 3 words. The brain resists big, vague demands, but it rarely resists something that takes 10 seconds. Once you are in motion, momentum tends to do the rest. Keep that in your pocket. It will matter more in a minute. But that trick only treats the surface. It gets you moving tonight. It does not explain why you needed it in the first place, why a person who can push through pain in a workout, who can sit through a boring meeting without flinching, suddenly turns into someone who cannot open one document. That contradiction is the actual mystery here, and most advice never touches it. Because the real explanation is not what most people assume. You have probably heard that procrastination is a failure of time management, that you simply need a better planner, a stricter schedule, more discipline. If that were true, the most organized people in the world would never procrastinate. They do, constantly. That should tell you something is wrong with the theory. Procrastination is not about the clock. It is about your mood, right now, in this exact second. Your brain is not weighing important task against unimportant task. It is weighing this feels bad against this feels better, and it will almost always choose the second option. That is the mechanism researcher Tim Peichel described when he studied procrastination as an emotion regulation problem rather than a time management one. The feeling attached to the task is the enemy, the anxiety, the boredom, the fear of doing it badly, the fear of finding out you are not as capable as you hoped. This matters right now because it means every trick you have tried, the productivity app, the color-coded calendar, the motivational video, was aimed at the wrong target. You cannot schedule your way out of a feeling. You have to deal with the feeling itself, or it will keep winning, no matter how good your system looks on paper. So what does dealing with it actually look like? Not motivation, not hype, something quieter and far less comfortable to hear. Your brain has a built-in shortcut for uncomfortable feelings. Escape. The scroll, the snack, the sudden urge to reorganize your desk at 11 p.m. instead of writing. None of that is random. It is your mind trading a small, immediate relief for a much bigger cost later, and it makes that trade automatically, before you have even decided to allow it. Psychologists call this present bias, the tendency to weigh right now comfort far more heavily than tomorrow's consequences, even when you know, intellectually, that the trade is a bad one. Think of someone you know who will play a difficult video game for 6 straight hours, losing over and over, without ever once quitting in frustration, but cannot answer 3 unread emails without their stomach tightening. Same brain, same person. The difference was never willpower or laziness. The game does not threaten their sense of self if they lose. The emails might. That is the entire difference, and it is almost never about the size of the task. Here is the part nobody tells you, and it is the part that actually changes things. You have spent your whole life being told to fight procrastination with more willpower. Grit your teeth, push through, want it more. But willpower is not the missing ingredient. Tolerance is. Not tolerance for the task, tolerance for the discomfort of starting it. The people who get things done are not the ones who feel less resistance. They are the ones who have quietly practiced sitting with that resistance for 90 seconds without running from it. Because almost every craving to escape, if you let it exist without acting on it, peaks and then fades within about that long. You are not being asked to defeat the feeling. You are being asked to survive it for a minute and a half. Think about the last time you avoided something you cared about. It was never really about the task itself, was it? It was about a version of you that might fail at it, publicly, in a way that would confirm your worst suspicion about yourself. Avoidance is not weakness. It is protection. Clumsy, Expensive protection, but protection all the same. Your brain would rather you never finish the project than risk you finishing it badly and finding out something painful about your own limits. That reframes everything. You are not broken. You are not undisciplined. You are running a very old, very effective threat response system, and it is currently pointed at a Google Doc instead of a real danger, because to that part of your brain, they register almost the same way. So here is what actually breaks the cycle, once you understand what you are actually fighting. First, name the feeling before you act on it. Not "I don't feel like it," something specific. "I'm afraid this will be bad." "I'm bored and I want relief." The moment you name it, it loses some of its grip, because you have moved it from an automatic reflex into something you are now consciously observing, rather than blindly obeying. Second, use the small start rule from earlier, but now you know why it works. It is not a productivity hack, it is a discomfort hack. 10 seconds of action is short enough that the fear does not have time to fully activate before you are already moving, and once you are moving, the emotional math changes. Stopping now feels worse than continuing did a minute ago. Third, redesign the moment right before you start, not the whole day. Most people try to overhaul their entire routine. You do not need that. You need to make the 10 seconds before starting slightly easier, and the 10 seconds of escaping slightly harder. Phone in another room, tab closed before you sit down. The one sentence already half written, so tomorrow you has less resistance to push through than today you did. And fourth, the one most people skip, let the 90 seconds happen. When the urge to escape hits, do not fight it and do not obey it. Just notice it, sit still, and let it move through you like a wave that is already cresting. It will drop faster than you expect. Almost every time you have pushed through procrastination successfully in the past, this is actually what happened, whether you noticed it or not. None of this requires you to want the task more. It requires you to fear the discomfort slightly less, one small exposure at a time. And that is a completely different, far more learnable skill than the "just try harder" advice you have been given your whole life. Which brings us to the one thing that changes everything. You were never actually procrastinating on the work. You were procrastinating on a feeling, and the work simply happened to be standing behind it. So go back to that laptop, that blinking cursor, that one sentence from 4 hours ago. The you at 11:47 was not lazy and was not weak. The you at 11:47 was afraid, quietly, of something the task might reveal, and did the very human thing of turning away from that fear instead of through it. Next time the cursor blinks and the room goes quiet and some part of you wants to reach for the phone instead, you will know what that moment actually is. Not a failure of discipline, a feeling asking to be avoided one more time, and this time you will only need to outlast it for 90 seconds to find out what was on the other side.